welcome to Get Collected. I'm your host, Soul Brother Mike, and it's Thursday, August 31st, 2017, and you're listening to Season 4, Episode 13. Today's episode is co-hosted by Kelly Hoppy.
Hey.
Today in Dusted Off, Kelly is sharing with you a blues classic by Memphis Minnie. And here's something, Chrissy is sharing a live recording of the song All of Me. And in What's the Deal, we'll be promoting some upcoming gigs. Now let's get to the show. So today on Dusted Off, I'm so excited for Kelly Hoppy to tell us all about Memphis Minnie. Kelly, tell us about it.
Hey, Soul Brother Mike. Memphis Minnie. Oh my gosh. I'm going to try and keep this short, and it's going to be really hard to do. We're going to play from her album that was put out by Chris Strockwitz's label, Blues Classics, and the album is actually called Blues Classics by Memphis Minnie. Blues Classic 1 was the name of the label. This came out in the early 70s. And there's a lot of great, just as a preamble to follow that, there's a lot of great material on that label and on our Hooley Records and Document, which Chris Strockwitz had a lot to do with. And you can look up Chris Strockwitz online and find a lot about him. And speaking of going online, there's a great website I found in the last few days called memphisminnie.com. And Minnie is M-I-N-N-I-E, just in case, and Memphis like the city. Anyway, there's a lot to unpack here. I'll try and keep it brief. She was a really great guitar player, as her peers would describe, her male peers. She played, she was a finger-picking stylist and played in, either Spanish tuning, DG, BD, for you guitar players out there, and also standard tuning, and would employ a capo whenever needed, of course. And she would use the latest technology in terms of guitar technology to be heard above the noise of any particular crowd. So she was playing a National steel guitar as early as the late 20s, as people have been able to find out. And later she would either play an electric wood body National and various electric guitar models throughout the 40s and 50s. She was the first prominent female recording artist in blues that played the guitar and sang, as opposed to singers like Bessie Smith, Ma Rainey, and Mamie Smith. Kansas City Joe McCoy, her first husband, played in Memphis. The two of them did, and where they were discovered and signed to Columbia in 1929, the Columbia record label. And the label gave them their stage name. She was born Lizzie Douglas, so they called her Memphis Minnie because she was in Memphis at the time. And Kansas Joe McCoy because he was from Kansas, I guess. And that's when they recorded When the Levee Breaks in New York, June 1929. So you Led Zeppelin fans out there might make that connection. That's where Led Zeppelin got the sort of, the gist of the song that they recorded back in the rock and roll years of the late 60s, early 70s. That's a little bit of background on her. And her career paralleled and intersected with other famous male guitarists, especially one prominent Delta guitarist who comes in and out of Charlie Patton's career, and Robert Johnson, a guy named Willie Brown, Frank Stokes, and Big Bill Brunsey, among others. And like I said, many of them would attest to her prowess on the guitar. But she was also a great songwriter. We're going to hear Nothing in Ramblin' off this particular album, and really poignant lyrics. And like a lot of great lyricists, they can still have relevance today. In this song, you're going to hear one of the part of a verse that says, "I walked through the alley with my hand in my coat. The police start to shoot me, though it was thought it was something I stole." And then there's another fragment of a verse that goes, "The people on the highway is walking and crying. Some is starving, some is dying." So that has as much relevance today as it did back in the late 30s and early 1940s. This was particularly recorded with her husband, little son Joe Lawler, accompanying her on sort of rhythm and bass lines on this particular track, and you'll sort of hear that in all of her recordings. But anyways, go to memphisminnie.com. You'll find out a lot of great information about the great Memphis Minnie. So right now, let's listen to Nothing in Ramblin'.
I was born in Louisiana, I raised in Algiers, and everywhere I've been, The people's all saying, ain't nothing in rambling, either run around. Well, I believe I married, ooh, Lord, and settle down. I first left home, I stopped in Tennessee. The people's all begging, come and stay with me. 'Cause ain't nothing in rambling, either run around. Well, I believe I get me a good man, ooh, Lord, and settle down. I walk through the alley with my hand in my coat. The police start to shoot me, thought it's up knife stole. You know ain't nothing in rambling, either run around. Well, I believe I married, ooh, Lord, and settle down. The people's on the highway is walking and crying. Some is starving, some is dying. You know ain't nothing in rambling, either run around. Well, I believe I get a good man, ooh, Lord, and settle down. Go to Hollywood and try to get on stream, but I'm gonna stay right here and eat these old chatty beans. 'Cause ain't nothing in rambling, either run around. Well, I believe I married, ooh, Lord, and settle down.
So now for the next part of today's show called Hear Something. Sadly, Chrissy isn't making it on today's podcast, but we do have a live recording of her playing recently at a show at Chalet Studios. So Chalet Studios is a beautiful county manor. It's 30 minutes outside of Windsor. And a couple bought it 30 years ago as a rolling plot of land with beautiful trees. And together they have since built a beautiful home there and developed picturesque gardens and also some just beautiful landscaping overall. It's also a business for them. They take high quality photos around the property and around their different beautiful features, including what I remember to be a 400-year-old castle door from France. So it's a pretty crazy place. They hired Chrissy and I to perform there for their 30th anniversary, and we played on the back deck overlooking about a half dozen tables, seating some of the open house attendees. So let's have a listen now to Chrissy performing All of Me live at Chalet Studios.
Take my lips, I want to lose Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so I know I'd take all of me.
All right, that was All of Me by Chrissy Cochran. Reach out to her on Twitter at Chrissy Cochran and let her know what you thought. Also, if you'd like to download and own that recording, become a member of the Get Collected podcast on Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to all of the music that we feature in the Here's Something part of our show, and it's often rare and otherwise unreleased. So go subscribe now at patreon.com/getcollected. So what's the deal? Here's the deal. We have some great shows coming up. Chrissy and I are playing at Caesars Windsor this Saturday night in the Elix Lounge from 9 p.m. until 1 a.m. So if you're 18 and up, make sure you drop by and hear some of that romantic jazz and blues music that we'll be playing. Also, you have to come out to Villains Bistro on September 8th and hear both Chrissy and I performing with a full band that includes some of Windsor's most talented musicians. So for details on these shows, head to soulbrothermike.com/dates. All right, that's our show for today. Thanks so much for listening. Tune back in on Tuesday for an all-new Get Fit. Stay tuned and
stay collected.